Apparently, the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal was too normal for some people. I really didn't want to talk about this, but I feel like the entire situation's kind of got blown out of proportion. There's a lot of back and forth online between the people who live on the internet and the people who also live on the internet. Recently, there was an interview with Shuhei Yoshida, a former PlayStation executive, who recently said that he wasn't completely won over by the presentation, and he went as far as to saying, I think Nintendo is losing their identity. And look, I respect Yoshida, of course, he's an industry veteran, but I gotta push back on this a little bit, because when you look at Nintendo's history, losing their identity might be the best thing they can do right now. So if you didn't see this article, Yoshida feels like the Switch 2 is just a more powerful version of the same thing. And he's not wrong, it really is. It's got a bigger screen, some 4K capabilities, which I don't care about 4K, I'm not one over. All of my monitors are 1080p, as well as a higher frame rate, which is one thing that I am really worried about. Yoshida was really looking for the wild, out of left field Nintendo that we've all grown to expect. But the thing is, I don't think Nintendo's identity necessarily lies in that innovation. Yes, that is the company who has typically not played it safe when it comes to new hardware, and they do some crazy ideas. I mean, they literally boxed up cardboard and sold it to people. But I think this old Nintendo identity that we romanticize has really burned the company a lot. And some of these innovations are great and amazing, and they push gaming forward. But other times, these innovations end up being the Virtual Boy or the Wii U. You can even say something about the N64 cartridges. They stuck with the cartridges on the N64 when Sony was out here handing out CDs. And yeah, they did the cartridge thing to help with load times, but the decision literally pushed developers away. Final Fantasy VII was a PlayStation game because Nintendo used cartridges on their consoles. Square dipped, and a lot of third-party studios followed them. And don't get me wrong, the N64 had a lot of awesome games, of course. Then you get to the GameCube, it's pretty much the exact same thing. They could have used DVDs or CDs like everyone else, but we got these little mini discs. Again, GameCube's great. There's a lot of great games on GameCube. Then we go to the Wii, arguably the most gimmicky Nintendo console of all time. Now, don't let Juice hear this, but I actually do really like the Wii. I respect the Wii, okay? I kind of joke a lot about how much I can't stand the Wii and how it's really gimmicky, but it is gimmicky. The motion controls, I just don't think they've aged well. Wii Sports is a grandma game, I like to say, but the thing sold really well. And this is a gimmick that paid off for them in the short term, but in the long term, I just don't feel like it paid off as well. The novelty wore off really quickly, and third-party support dropped, and then the motion gimmick started to feel more like a party trick than a foundation for great games. And Nintendo then doubled down with the Wii U. And I love the Wii U. I love the Wii U so much more than the Wii. There's one back there. I don't think you can see it on camera, but nobody really knew what it was. They took the Wii and then they had all of this, what I like to call normie support, where it was just a huge casual player base. And then when the Wii U came out, the marketing wasn't different enough. So this super casual player base who is not as plugged in had no clue that this was a completely different system. I don't think that was really an innovation issue now that I'm really thinking about it. I think that was just a marketing issue. Actually, I take that back. The gamepad was an innovation issue. They tried to shoehorn in this big peripheral that came with the console, and developers just didn't know what to do with it. So third-party support dwindled. I think there was a little bit at first, especially with Ubisoft, maybe EA if I'm remembering correctly. It seems like Nintendo had an innovate first, ask questions later type of mentality, and I feel like it failed. Now here, with the Switch, Nintendo has struck gold. The Switch... Oh shit, I'm an uncle, boys. Now with the Switch, Nintendo struck gold. This was a gimmick that paid off. This was a gimmick that had real tangible value for the consumer. This gimmick literally changed the gaming industry. This is one of those times where Nintendo struck gold and it has a lasting staying power to the point where other companies are doing the same thing to different varying degrees. We've got the Steam Deck, we've got the ROG Ally, the PlayStation Portable, which is not really the same thing, but it is. Nintendo's shaking up the industry. And unlike when they change things up with motion controls, this has lasting staying power. Taking your console and being able to, carry it around with you is a great gimmick. So the entire time that leading up to the Switch 2, all I want before the reveal, I guess, all I really wanted was a more powerful, more capable Switch. Yeah, they can add in some bells and whistles, but this is what people want. The Switch 2 might not be wild or revolutionary, but that's kind of the point, right? For the first time, they have a console that developers already understand. The gimmick has proven successful for them already. The Switch has sold a bazillion units, and it can run modern games. That isn't selling out, that's being smart, understanding your market, and playing the long game. This is a bigger video that I wanted to make, but I think I can just talk about it here. You can kind of tell that Nintendo's mindset has shifted already. I mean, look at who was presenting the Switch 2 Direct for us. For the first time, we saw 3 new faces, front and center. I'm not going to pretend to understand how to pronounce their names. I apologize. I'll put them up on screen. But these aren't the usual old guard Nintendo executives. These are fresh blood. And it wasn't a coincidence that these people are presenting this new system for us. I think Nintendo's been making this shift for years now. Reggie's gone. Iwata's gone. May he rest in peace. Miyamoto is focusing on theme parks and movies. The next generation of Nintendo is here, and they're prepping that new wave of leadership. Just by the nature of things, it's going to come with a new identity. But this innovative identity that Yoshida is nostalgic for, I think that, that identity got us the Virtual Boy and the Wii U, and it fumbled a lot. These people that are upset about the Switch 2 and how it isn't new enough, I don't think these people were in the trenches in 2013, 2014, like some of us were. We're eating good now. We're up there. So as someone who has seen Nintendo stumble my entire life pretty much, and just have really high highs and really low lows, I'm really optimistic about the Switch 2. I think this is a great brand direction that Nintendo's going in. Yes, there's some questions about the pricing, and they may be stumbling around the pricing a little bit, but as far as like brand direction, this is a win. I think this is fantastic, and I'm really excited to see 10 years from now how we look back on this era. So is Nintendo losing their identity? No. I think they're redefining it, and that is a good thing. It's about time. I love when Nintendo surprises us, don't get me wrong, but I also love that they're finally making smart moves that set them up to thrive in the long term. If the Nintendo Switch 2 is just a better Nintendo Switch, then that's a win in my book. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.